freaking love the solo 401k, any of you are self-employed, this is a strategy where you can be putting $70K a year away that could be all Roth dollars or a mix of Roth and traditional in a retirement account. But this is like you can put 10 times the money in a solo 401k you can do in an IRA.
We are firm believers that your preferred retirement account bucket should be the Roth IRA or the Roth 401k. In the long run, it will serve you the best. It is tax-free money, a tax-free ATM that you've got to build.
Welcome everyone to the Directed IRA Podcast. This is Matt Sorensen, joined by Mark J. Kohler, and we want you to know what matters before December 31st.
When you paused, I was like, what do we want them to know? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I like that. That's what our show title is about.
Yeah, so, don't forget Christmas. You know, you got all that in the middle here.
Gifts, but, by the way, is your turkey completely thawed and ready to go? I mean, you know, still those little things that matter.
This is pre-Thanksgiving as we're recording this, of course.
Yeah, so you will have already had your Thanksgiving by the time you heard this. So we hope you traveled safe, had a good board meeting. You should have taken a tax write-off for all the travel and the food. I'm writing off most of the food for our Thanksgiving dinner because we're having a board meeting afterwards. See, people? Gotta be thinking. Be thinking. So no, there's some important retirement plan year-end deadlines. And we got all sorts of tax strategy deadlines. We've already done some podcasts on that. We'll do more as we get closer to year-end. But today's about 5 things. 5 things you've got to know that if you don't take action on before year-end in the retirement tax-deferred, tax-preferred bucket world, what you'll miss out on if you don't take action.
So pay attention here. Now, some of the things you might be thinking about actually don't matter. You have until April 15th. But we want to hit the stuff that matters by year end because you got to do it. You got to get it done, and don't be waiting. Don't be that guy on December 30th trying to work with whoever it is. Maybe you're a customer of Directed IRA or you're a Charles Schwab, or I don't care where you're at. But don't be that guy trying to get this stuff done on December 30th. You will be like Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to buy that toy on Christmas Eve. What is it called?
Jingle All the Way?
Jingle All the Way. What's the toy he's trying to buy?
I can't remember it.
Look it up for me.
Well, it was also in
Turbo Man or something, or like Turbo or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
anyways,
there was also the Crufts or what, when they had to get the ham, their daughter's favorite ham, at the store before she got there for Christmas. I forgot it. Boy, we're going to get our Christmas quotes down.
Anyways, here we
All right. All right, so let's do
Turbo Man. It was Turbo Man. Okay, he needed to get a Turbo Man for his kid, and he waited till Christmas Eve, and he couldn't find it.
I'll have my Jamie Lee Curtis one here in a moment. Okay, so which one do you want to start with?
I'll let you lead off.
Okay, I think I want to go with let's get the big one out of the way for me. I love this one, and that is Roth Conversions. We are firm believers that your preferred retirement account bucket should be the Roth IRA or the Roth 401k. In the long run, it will serve you the best. It is tax-free money, a tax-free ATM that you've got to build. Now, that is not an easy task for someone that's been building a traditional IRA or traditional 401k over their lifetime. God bless you if you have some traditional retirement dollars already. Now the goal is to get that converted to Roth. Now your young family members, your children, nieces, nephews, or if you're listening here and you're in your 20s or 30s, the sooner you can just solely dedicate yourself to Roth contributions and not be in this conversion world, the better. But for those of you that need to do conversions, December 31st is your deadline.
Yeah, and so the Roth conversion is, what's going to happen is you elect it in 2024, let's say, and you fill out your paperwork. You got to fill out a Roth conversion election form with your administrator, custodian of your account. And then let's say you have an account at Directed IRA. You're like, all right, man, I got a $200,000 traditional IRA with you. I want to go Roth. Maybe I'm going to do $100,000 this year. Okay, well, we're going to convert that $100,000. It's going to go into a Roth account. But what's going to happen is we're going to send you a 1099 next year in January, but it's going to go on your 2024 tax return. So that's why it matters now. So if you want to convert and get that taxable income on your 2024 return, that's when you would convert now before December 31st.
Now, there is a loophole which you would need to take care of before you do this conversion too. So let's just at least go there, is that if you have traditional IRA money that needs to be converted to Roth so you could put money into a backdoor Roth, you either have to move that to a solo 401k plan or a traditional 401k plan, take it off the table. Then you could go do your backdoor Roth strategy, which you could do up until April 15th. But you've got to move that money over to a 401k. But along the way, we want to take a chunk. This is why we call it chunking. We want to take a chunk of that Roth, that traditional money, and convert it to Roth in that process. And December 31st is your deadline to get it on the tax return for this year, or it's next year. And why it's important, you may say, well, I'll just do it in the spring. Well, you want to take advantage of your tax bracket. The first step in this process, we would ask you, if we were doing a consult, is what was your tax bracket last year on your next taxable dollar? So what's your AGI? And if you were to make one more dollar, what would be your taxable income bracket? And we want to figure out what that is, because if you're going to chunk some money to Roth and pay tax on it, we don't want you to put too much in that it bumps you to the next highest bracket. And there's these break points where it could be a 10 or 8% increase in your tax bracket, but there's other break points where it's only 2%. So you're like, we'll chunk more at it because it's not going to be that big a deal. But if I'm going to hit this wall, we don't want to go through that break point. And that's what we call Roth chunking. Take a stab at it. It can be complicated.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about in December is when we do more Roth conversions at Directed IRA than any other month. Why is that? Because people have an idea of what they made in the year. And they're like, all right, this might be a lower income year. Or if, as Mark's saying here, I could convert 50 grand this year, let's say, and it's going to keep me in the same tax bracket. I'm not bumping up, or I'm only bumping up into a bracket that hits me 2%. And so this is where you can be a little more strategic about your conversions to minimize the tax hit you're going to have. So, and a strategy would be, let's say you did have that $200,000 traditional IRA example I gave, is you could say, all right, I'm going to convert 100K right now. And on January 1st, 2025, I'm going to convert the other 100K. So within the next 45 days here, 30 days, I have everything over in Roth, but I broke it into 2 different tax years to keep me in the lower brackets rather than going 200 all in one year and that all hitting your 2024 tax return.
All right. And a good way to look at this would be the 2 biggest break points. There's the 10, 12, 22, 24. Okay, we don't want to get too crazy here. There's 7 tax brackets. The ones that we don't like is going from the 12 to the 22, and then the 24 to the 32. So there's a 10% increase in your bracket when you hit $201,000. You go from the 12% bracket to the 22% bracket. So in Matt's example, let's say you've got 100 grand you want to convert, and your current taxable income is estimated to be 150. Well, let's just convert 50 of that and keep you under that $201,000 break point.
Yeah.
So now you're not going to jump into a higher bracket on on those dollars. That would be one of those break points. And we could talk about single, married, filing jointly, all those, and dive into this deeply for a good amount of time. But we won't today. Just know that this is the conversation you're going to have with your tax advisor, is what bracket am I going to fall into if I convert too much? That's all you want to ask. And then start looking at the brackets. You can Google the brackets, look at your last year's tax return of where you were at on your taxable income, and just use that as a benchmark. You can do this yourself on just a pad of paper and looking at last year's tax return and Googling the current tax brackets and what's in your traditional IRA. Pretty straightforward.
Pretty easy. And this is what you need to know year end. Let's hit the next one, though, because
Okay.
there's more, that you got to know by December 31st. All right, the next one I want to hit is RMD, required minimum distribution. So for any of you that are 73 years or older, you have to start taking required minimum distributions on your traditional accounts. Now, Roth accounts are exempt from RMD, and so another strategy, just to tie these 2 things together, is in your 60s, and I've seen a lot of clients do this, they're no longer own their business, or they no longer have a W-2 job, they're in a lower bracket, they can live off their traditional IRA, but I've seen a lot of them just start converting over to Roth. But for any of your traditional dollars, non-Roth, you need to take RMD. Also, any inherited accounts that you have, you will have your RMD requirements as well. So the RMD has to be taken by December 31st, 2024 to count in the 2024 tax year. And the penalty for missing RMD is like 25% of the amount you should have taken. It is significant, so you don't want to miss your RMDs.
For those that are like, okay, slow down, guys. What the hell are you talking about? Here's the concept. All your lifetime, you've been putting money in this traditional IRA or traditional 401k. That's great. You got a write-off to do that. Or it wasn't in your paycheck. Great. The government's saying, yeah, but we don't want you to die with it in your account. So at age 73, you got to start taking out this percentage, and it's based on a table on your age and your gender, and you pull out that table and you go, of all my traditional money, here's what it is, and you've got to take out X dollars. It doesn't have to be from each IRA, just at least one of the traditional IRAs in your portfolio. You've got to dump out whatever that dollar amount is based on the table. And if you can avoid that process and create that Roth ATM, you don't have to deal with this. So based on chunking, between now and age 73, if you've got a year where your income's a little lower, maybe you sold something at a loss, you sold some stock at a loss, some rental property at a loss, a property at a loss, a business loss, or you just had some losses, your income's down, maybe it was a year where your occupation was changing. That's a great year to go, ooh, let's convert some money over to Roth, pay for that tax bill a little later next year, but at least it's off the table. And so you're really doing yourself a favor. It's ripping off the Band-Aid, people. It's short-term pain for long-term gain.
There you go.
Bam. All right, that's number 2. What's number 3?
All right, number 3, solo 401k. We freaking love the solo 401k. Any of you are self-employed, this is a strategy where you can be putting $70K a year away that could be all Roth dollars or a mix of Roth and traditional in a retirement account. Take a tax deduction if you want to go traditional and save yourself some money in your 2024 tax return. Go all Roth, as we've talked about, because we love Roth for the long haul, growing, coming out tax-free. But this is like you can put 10 times the money in a solo 401k you can do in an IRA. But if you want to do it for your 2024 tax return and you are an S corporation owner, we want to do it now before December 31st. Yes, you have to.
You have to set it up. You don't have to put the money in, do you?
You don't. You can make the contribution up until the tax return deadline plus extensions. So your S Corps will be in March 15th, plus the extension up until September 15th. But you need to have the solo case set up before December 31st. And I think our internal deadline is like the 10th. So make sure you're acting quickly here if you want an if you want a solo K before the year end. Now, the next thing that's around the corner, though, is your W-2 in January, where you will need to record your contribution for
what you're going to contribute.
What you're going to contribute, and then you just have to get it in by the tax return deadline.
Now, Matt, I love you, but I think you're being a little deceitful because Matt's saying you've got to have the solo 401k by December 31st, but there's a little known fact that the IRS shuts down their system for a week for maintenance the last week of the year. And so you think, I have till December 31st. Well, guess what the check mark of getting this done is? It's called the EIN. And if you don't have that EIN by December 31st issued to the name of your solo 401k, you don't have no solo 401k.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on there.
Yeah. And let me say, if you're doing this in January, we do have some workarounds. And if you're catching this in January, just know we got some steps and procedures to kind of get around this.
It's painful and expensive.
Yeah. But the other thing to think about too is you sole proprietors. Some of you are a sole proprietor. You actually have until April 15th. Okay, and there's a Secure 2.0. This a retirement account law came out and actually moved the deadline and said, hey, don't worry. If it's March of 2025, you can still set up a solo 401k for 2024 tax return, and as long as you get the contributions in by the deadline. But the S Corps have this little weird thing where you technically, to make your employee contribution, you need to be able to make the election within the tax year, and also your W-2 is around the corner in January. So we like you need to get your solo K done by December 31st, U.S. Corp owners.
Yeah, now this is tricky. What he means by sole proprietorship, another way of saying that is, for all of you LLC business owners
that didn't do an S election.
You were technically a sole prop. And you're like, that's great. Then all of a sudden, we look at your income in January or February, and we're like, you better make a retroactive S election for 2024. And so we do a workaround to get around your FICA, and then you were like, but by the way, I wanted to do my solo 401k. Oh, yeah. Well, because we did a retroactive S election to save your bacon over here, you just freaking threw it in the pan over here. And, you know, so if you want your bacon and eat it too, you've got to have your tax planning meeting with your advisor right freaking now. Because at the same moment you're talking about that solo 401k, you're talking about, should I do a retroactive S election? Because if you've got the money to throw into a 401k, I think you probably have the money that you're paying way too much on FICA. So let's be doing two birds with one stone. Do the retroactive S election, clean up your W-2 for January, and do the solo 401k all before, frankly, December 15th. Because you don't want to be trying to beg the IRS to give you an EIN before or after the 31st. So get on it. Our firm, we're busy, and you've got to call right now to get a call with one of the tax lawyers to do that review. If you don't have a tax advisor you believe in. Yeah. Wow. Boy, I was a little strong for him. I feel bad.
That's okay. You know, sometimes strong is what's needed.
It's love.
It's coming from a place of heart, and you throw out some bacon.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave some meat, you know, in that little example. There's some real meat there. All right.
Number 4.
That was a joke.
Yeah, I loved it. It was good. I was laughing.
It's called a pun.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, let's talk about the 401k that you might have at your day job. Okay. Maybe you're a high income earner or not. Doesn't matter. But you have a 401k. Maybe you own the business with employees. And you got this group 401k, or you're an employee somewhere. Well, you don't get to wait until the tax return deadline like we just talked about for solo Ks, okay? Because your employer plan doesn't play by those rules. Your employer plan says, yeah, you need to do that before December 31st. So a lot of our clients that are high income, they might be W-2, they might own the business, doesn't really matter. They're going to start maxing out and looking at, hey, did I get enough money in here to get the free match 100%? And maybe after that, I also want to max out my employee contribution. I want to get up to the $23,000 I can do as an employee because I'm trying to sock more tax preferred money away, and this could be Roth or traditional. Or maybe you're one of those people that's like, guys, I want to do the mega backdoor Roth. I'm a high income earner at a place. I'm getting a W-2. It's not my solo, but I want to do the mega backdoor Roth and do $69,000 because I want to do this after tax contribution. Well, that's got to be done by December 31st too, and this is where you got to really be drilling in December with your retirement plan coordinator or the administrator for your 401k where you work to start maxing out these contributions.
Now, I want to throw a wider net here because let's get real. 50 million Americans have a side hustle. Do you know why it's called a side hustle? Because they have a day job too. So there's a lot of you out there that are playing in both worlds. Millions of Americans are playing in both worlds. So this is a really, a lot of you that this is going to impact. So here's a little pro tip. Not only do you need to worry about what Matt just said, make sure you're getting your match at work at the least, but you can have a solo 401k as well. So here's the big news alert. You may have thought, well, I can't do a solo, I have a day job. Or, oh, I've got a day job, and this solo thing isn't for me. No. You can do both, and you can game both of them. And so you may still want to make an S election and retroactive. You may want to keep your side hustle in LLC and not do an S election. You may want to match at work, but then go put the rest of your deferral in your solo that you can control and self-direct. Oh, the world is your oyster, my friends. So this is the type of conversation your tax advisor should be laying out to you like a Thanksgiving dinner. So you can pick and choose, because I'm not doing Brussels sprouts. I just can't do it. But I'm going to really load up on the stuffing because that's more for me. Some of you are like, oh, I'm going for the bean casserole. So your tax advisor should give you all these options.
Mm-hmm. And is the ESA, the bean casserole, what is that?
Ooh, well.
The green bean casserole? Because we haven't even got to that stuff. Because I want to talk about the next conversation, which is don't stress about some of this stuff. You got until April 15th. Okay? There's a lot of other things that it's like, cool, let's get it in. I want to maximize your 2024 retirement account contributions, health savings account, ESA contributions. But let's focus on the year-end stuff that we just hit.
Yep.
And the rest of the stuff, you got until April 15th. Let's hit those.
Yeah, just to kind of forewarn you, the traditional IRA, the Roth IRA, the backdoor Roth, the health savings account, the education savings account, we can cross that bridge in March or April.
Well, that was you hitting them all right there in one.
And we're done.
I thought we were going to...
No, we don't need to talk about them in detail. I think, because you all have enough to worry about. So that's why I did it that way.
So I just want to take it off the list because a lot of people are like, I got to do my Roth IRA for 2024. No, you got to take April 15th. Your traditional IRA, your health savings account, your ESA. You got time.
Yeah.
April 15th, your deadline. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I don't want to overload. If I may, I maybe called an audible there.
Ooh.
But I want to bring up the FSA. But,
Okay, and I got one more for your end.
Oh, okay. Well, pray tell. Okay, so don't worry about any of those other ones until April 15th.
I think you're going to like this one.
Okay.
The Kids Roth. You need to do that before year end. Okay. We love the Kids Roth account. We have a Kids Roth application at Directed IRA. For any of you that have kids that work in your business, you should be paying them, taking a tax deduction in your business, which you need to do before December 31st, 2024. And then they are going to receive that income, but let's not put it in their bank account, let them spend it. Let's drop it in a Roth IRA in their name that could even go into crypto. You could buy stocks, whatever the heck you want. But that is a year-end one because we need to pay your kid by year-end.
Yep.
The contribution can happen on April 15th,
Yep.
but they need to have earned income before year-end.
Knock it out at the same time.
You like that one, right?
Yes, I do. I'm a big fan of that one. And I'd like that you're making it a December 31st issue because some of you are like, well, I can put money in my kids' Roth up until April 15th. Not if you didn't pay them. So knock two birds out with one stone. Pay them for what they did in your business in the proper method. Get to my book, Tax and Legal Playbook, or our prior podcasts. Go over to the Main Street Business Podcast on paying kids. We've got multiple podcasts there on that.
Yeah.
But pay the kids and immediately put it in their Roth. Then you're done with it. And some of you may go, well, what are they going to invest in with this little Roth? We have a kid Roth IRAs you can set up right now tonight in the middle of the night at directedira.com. But do the crypto Roth. The crypto Roth is an easy one. The kids' money will be right there, growing in some sort of crypto coin, even if it's just Bitcoin, and you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Check it off the list.
Yeah, and you could do stock, real. I mean, there's lots of options.
Yes,
You know, we're not your advisor telling you what to buy here, but that's one that's been popular.
Yeah.
I think is because it's easy to obtain. A lot of people that believe in crypto.
Yeah, I'm going to put that on the list. Absolutely. Okay.
So you had one more very exciting
I had one last one, and that is the flexible spending account. That's the use it or lose it medical plan, cafeteria plan, lots of different terms thrown around with that. But again, for you, 50 million Americans with a side hustle, meaning you got a main hustle, there's a good chance your employer is giving you a fringe benefit of putting a certain amount of dollars available to you to turn in medical receipts, called the use it or lose it flexible spending account, FSA. That amount could be as high as $3,200. They could say anywhere from $0 to $3,200. A lot of them do $1,000, $500, whatever. Could be for dental, chiropractic, co-pays, prescription drugs, whatever. They tell you how much that is. If you don't turn in your receipt by December 31st, it's typically game over. Now, some employers will give you one of two options, but they have to adopt it in the plan. They can give you an extra 2.5 months to make it up, or let you do up to $660 before March 15th. But if they don't put that in the plan, you don't get to do it. So the safe bet is, again, go get your receipts, turn them in at work, and get that free money. That's the flexible spending account.
And there you have it, folks.
There's your 6 killer year-end retirement account or tax-preferred account strategies. Let's call them that.
Yeah.
All right.
Love it. Now, I want to make sure everybody, if you want the details on this, we put it in our newsletter every year. Okay, you can read up on it, you can reference it. Make sure you're at directedira.com. Right on the homepage there, you can sign up for the newsletter. Of course, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We're going to be coming with you more amazing tips on how to build and grow wealth using retirement accounts.
Thanks, everybody. Travel safe this holiday season. Make sure you have your family board meeting. If you don't know what that is, get over to, again, Main Street Business Podcast. And when you hold your family board meeting, talk about these things. Educate your spouse, your family, your parents, your friends, and make that holiday meet and greet a board meeting that is completely tax deductible. Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Are we doing something here? Yeah, we are. It's this week. Yeah. Next week, we're going to be at Tax and Legal 360, but also covering our podcast before. So yeah. I think we should be good.
Yeah. Okay. See you next time.